Welcome to Project U 2.2, the podcast where life and leadership meet endurance. I'm Greg Helmer, joined by my wife and partner in life and work, Carrie. Each week, we dive deep into the mindset, the neuroscience, and the real grit it takes to stop drifting and start living with clarity, confidence, and endurance. This is about real life, real struggles, and real growth. So lace up, it's time to live with an endurance. On Wednesday, you heard from my Carrie babe, and if you missed it, hit pause right now and go back. Her episode was all about the power of micro wins, those small but consistent steps that add up to big change over time. She nailed it. Honestly, she always does. Today, I want to pick up where Carrie left off. I want to take her message of micro wins and dive a little bit deeper. And I would like to get into the psychology of why micro wins work and get into the everyday analogies that prove their power and how you can start stacking them this weekend to create real momentum in your life. And stick with me until the end because I'll give you a sneak peek of Carrie's next Wednesday's episode. Comparison is the thief of joy. You won't want to miss it. Carrie reminded us that life isn't transformed by these giant leaps. It's transformed by small, steady steps. Brushing your teeth, calling a friend, reading a book with your kids, finishing that little assignment today instead of putting it off until tomorrow. And isn't that true in just about every part of our life? A healthier body isn't built by one trip to the gym. It's built by showing up, even for 20 minutes, but day after day, week after week, month after month. A strong marriage isn't simply built in one candlelight romantic dinner. It's built in those little daily check-ins, the hugs, the quick text message, hey, how's your day going? Those moments, multiple moments over time. In leadership in schools or in business or at work, it isn't built from one grand speech at a conference or at a staff meeting. It's built when you follow through, when you consistently listen to those that you work with, and when you show up consistently. Small steps, micro wins. But here's what I want to emphasize today. Those micro wins don't just build results, they actually rewire your brain. Here's the science. Every time you experience some progress, even tiny progress, your brain releases dopamine. Now, most of you think of dopamine as that pleasure chemical, but it's actually more like your motivation chemical. Dopamine doesn't just make you feel good. It actually tells your brain, wow, that was worth it. Let's do it again. I want more. That's why micro wins that Carrie was talking about are so powerful. You check a box off your to-do list, boom, dopamine fires. You walk a mile, boom, dopamine fires. You tidy up or organize perhaps one drawer in your kitchen. Boom! Dopamine fires. And what happens next? Your brain says, hey, let's get another hit. Let's keep going. I like this. It feels good. And before long, you've gone from forcing yourself to act to actually being pulled forward by this momentum. That's how things change. Not just in one big leap, but in thousands of tiny dopamine-driven nudges. And that's the power. Now, let me give you a real-life analogy. Full disclosure here, this one may expose me a little bit. I am that neighbor, the one who mows his lawn sometimes twice a week. And yes, on occasion, I may have mowed twice in the same day just to cross the lines differently to see that eye-appealing pattern. Obsessive? Yeah, maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. So why do I do it? Well, because every single row that I mow, it feels like a micro win. One strip down, one strip back. Progress. And guess what? I can see it. It's instantly gratifying. Order is being created. And with each pass, I feel that little spark of satisfaction. That's dopamine doing its work. It's the same reason why people love crossing items off a checklist. It's not the size of the task, it's the fact that you completed something. One row of grass, one box checked, perhaps one drawer cleaned, or a corner of the garage organized, or perhaps you attacked the whole backyard shed and organized and cleaned it. Here's the kicker. Once that momentum starts, you don't want to stop. That's why I'll mow the whole yard in perfect lines instead of stopping halfway. That's why one drawer that's being cleaned often turns into a whole organized desk or closet. That dopamine, you see what happens? It pulls you forward. That's the power of micro wins. They create visible progress. They prove to you that you can, and then they quietly whisper, do the next one. Let's get one more. So, what does this look like in your world? And so, let's get practical. Fitness. Don't set out to run 5 miles if you haven't moved your body in months. That's ridiculous. Just commit to maybe a 5-minute walk or a 10-minute walk. Let's walk before you run. That's a micro win. Tomorrow, maybe, hey, it's 12 minutes. And then 15. Before long, you're walking 2 miles without thinking twice. And then perhaps you're running a mile. How about health? Don't overhaul your entire diet. Just cook one healthy meal this weekend. That's a micro win. Dopamine says, hey, that felt good. Next week, maybe 2 meals. Hey, and then maybe 3. Finances. Don't try to save 10K at once. Start with $10 a week, or maybe $100 a month. That's a micro win. Your brain celebrates the action and the momentum begins, and it can keep rolling. Relationships. Don't try to repair years of disconnection with a friend overnight. Maybe send a text. Make a phone call. Maybe plan a coffee date. Maybe figure out when you can go grab a beer. It's a micro win. Connection grows from there. Leadership. Don't try to transform your whole organization in one big, bold move. Start with one consistent act of integrity, one thoughtful question, one word of encouragement. Those micro wins, they'll ripple. The examples are endless, but they all follow the same pattern. Start small, finish one row, stack another, let that momentum do its work. Carrie said something important on Wednesday. She said the longer you put things off, the harder it gets to come back. And isn't that true? That's not just a good thought, that's neuroscience. Carrie's talking about neuroscience. When you delay, your brain tags that task as threatening. It stores it in the stress center of your brain. So the next time you think about it, you feel resistance before you even begin. But that's when you take action, even small action. Your brain tags it as progress. That's why the first step is always the hardest. And the second step always feels a little bit easier. So here's the warning. Later doesn't help you. Later is a lie. The hill just gets steeper. Micro wins can actually break that cycle. All right, how about some home fun? I like to call it home fun instead of homework. So here's your home fun for the weekend. Number one, pick one micro win you accomplished this week. Maybe it was from Carrie's episode on Wednesday. Now let's build on it. Number two, let's build it. If you walk around the block, let's walk two. If you clean one drawer, clean the whole desk. If you organize the workbench in the garage, let's attack the whole damn garage. Come on, guys, score some points with your wife. If you reconnected with a friend by text, set up coffee, or offer a day and a time to grab a beer. Number three, let's write it down. There's power in actually seeing the progress. Make the commitment. Remember, you're not aiming for perfection. You are aiming for momentum, and momentum starts small. And speaking of momentum, let's give you a preview of Carrie's next episode. Her topic next Wednesday is comparison is the thief of joy. Now think about this. Micro wins are personal. They are not about keeping pace with your neighbor, your coworker, or even the stranger you follow on Instagram. They are about building momentum in your life. When you compare your micro wins to someone else's macro results, you actually rob yourself of joy. And that's where Carrie is headed next week. And I can't wait for you to hear it. So here's the bottom line. Micro wins aren't small. They're foundational. They aren't just actions. They are rewiring your brain. They aren't just habits. They are identity shaping. Every time you take one step, finish one row, cross one line, you're telling yourself, I can do this. This is who I am. So this weekend, be the neighbor who mows one row at a time. Be the leader who chooses one encouraging word. Be the person who stacks one small step until momentum takes over. Because when you live that way, you'll look back and realize the small wins were never small at all. They were the very things that carried you to a big, life-changing transformation. This has been Project U 2.2, where we don't quit, we don't coast, and we don't surrender. If you are ready to reclaim your clarity, your confidence, and your endurance, head over to projectu22.org to learn more about one-on-one coaching, couples coaching, and our retreats. And don't forget, every Wednesday at 6:22 a.m., my Carrie babe brings her powerful perspective for women, faith, and growth. Until next time, stay strong, stay real, and keep living with endurance. See you at 6:22.